The lobby of the tall corporate building gleamed under the morning sunlight. Polished marble floors reflected the soft glow of ceiling lights, and the air carried a faint scent of fresh flowers from a vase placed at the reception desk. The world outside bustled with horns, footsteps, and voices, but inside, everything seemed calm and professional. A young janitor named Marcus moved his broom across the floor with steady strokes. He wore a pale blue polo shirt, simple trousers, and well-worn shoes. His eyes were focused on the ground, but his mind wandered far beyond the shiny marble tiles. For Marcus, this job wasn't just about sweeping floors. It was about keeping his dreams alive while taking care of his family. At just 23, Marcus had already known more struggle than comfort. His mother worked double shifts at a nursing home, and his younger sister was in high school with hopes of becoming a nurse. His father had left years ago, and Marcus had stepped into the role of caretaker without hesitation. He dreamed of one day finishing college, maybe studying business or technology, but for now, he was here, broom in hand, doing his best to keep things moving. That morning, while he swept the lobby, he noticed a man in a dark navy suit walking briskly toward the elevators. The man was older, perhaps in his 60s, with neatly combed silver hair and an air of authority. He carried a black briefcase and walked with the confidence of someone used to making decisions. This was Mr. Harrison, one of the senior executives of the company that occupied the top floors of the building. To many employees, he was a figure of respect and a little bit of fear. He was known for his sharp mind and no-nonsense approach, yet those who looked closely sometimes noticed a gentleness in his eyes. As Harrison approached, Marcus instinctively moved to the side, lowering his gaze so as not to be in the way. Many people passed janitors without a word, as though they were invisible. Marcus had gotten used to it. He didn't take offense anymore. Still, deep inside, a small part of him wished someone would notice the effort he put into keeping the place spotless. But instead of walking by, Harrison slowed down. He stopped right near Marcus, watching him work for a moment. "You're doing a fine job," Harrison said in a calm, measured voice. Marcus looked up, surprised. Compliments were rare. "Oh, thank you, sir," he replied politely. Harrison studied him for a second. "What's your name?" "Marcus, sir." "Well, Marcus," Harrison said with a small nod, "a clean lobby makes all the difference. First impressions matter. You help us all start the day right." Marcus felt a warmth spread through him. It was a simple statement, but it meant the world to him. Most people didn't think twice about a janitor's role. To hear it acknowledged by someone like Harrison gave him a sudden sense of pride. "Thank you," Marcus said again, this time with a genuine smile. Harrison gave a nod and continued toward the elevator. Marcus went back to sweeping, but his heart was lighter. That brief exchange reminded him that dignity lives in every job, no matter how small it may seem. A second encounter. Days turned into weeks, and Marcus continued his routine. Every morning, he would sweep the lobby around the same time Harrison arrived. Sometimes Harrison offered a polite nod, sometimes a small smile, and sometimes he said nothing at all. But Marcus noticed one thing: the executive never looked past him. He looked at him with the same respect he gave anyone else. One morning, Harrison arrived earlier than usual. The lobby was quiet, and Marcus was just starting his shift. Harrison slowed his steps again and asked, "Tell me something, Marcus. Do you like your work here?" Marcus hesitated. He didn't want to sound ungrateful. "It's honest work, sir. It pays the bills." "That's fair," Harrison said, adjusting his tie. "But what do you really want to do? Where do you see yourself 5 or 10 years from now?" The question caught Marcus off guard. Few people ever asked about his dreams. "Well," Marcus said carefully, "I've always wanted to finish college. Maybe study business or technology. I want to do something bigger, something that lets me support my mom and sister better." Harrison nodded slowly, as though weighing the answer. "That's a good ambition. Education can open doors. Don't let go of that." With that, he gave Marcus a gentle pat on the shoulder and continued on his way. Marcus stood there, replaying the conversation in his mind. For someone like Harrison, it might have been a passing moment. But for Marcus, it was powerful encouragement. It made him feel seen, like his life had potential beyond the broom in his hand. An unexpected opportunity. One rainy morning, Marcus arrived to work drenched, his thin jacket barely keeping out the cold. He didn't complain. He just started his shift, broom in hand, pushing water spots away from the lobby floor. As he worked, he heard Harrison's voice again. "Rough weather today." Marcus glanced up and managed a smile. "Yes, sir. But at least the lobby won't stay wet for long." Harrison chuckled softly. "That's the spirit." He paused, then asked, "Do you know how to use a computer, Marcus?" Marcus blinked. "Yes, sir. I'm not an expert, but I'm decent. I help my sister with her homework sometimes." "Good," Harrison replied thoughtfully. "There might be a part-time clerical role opening upstairs. Nothing too fancy, but it would involve basic data entry and organization. If you're interested, I could mention your name." Marcus's heart skipped. "Are you serious, sir?" Harrison nodded. "Of course. You seem hardworking and reliable. That's worth more than you think." Marcus could hardly believe it. A door he never expected might actually be opening. The power of respect. Weeks later, Marcus found himself not only sweeping the lobby but also spending a few hours each day in a small office upstairs, typing reports and learning office routines. The janitorial company allowed it, since Harrison himself had arranged the schedule. It wasn't glamorous work, but it was progress. More importantly, Marcus was learning skills that could carry him further. He still swept the lobby with the same dedication, but now he did it with even more pride. Other employees noticed the change too. They saw the janitor who had once blended into the background now carrying himself with confidence. And when they realized Harrison himself had taken an interest in Marcus, some began treating him differently, offering greetings, smiles, even small conversations. Marcus never forgot the root of it all. It wasn't about the part-time office job, or the possibility of future promotions. It was about kindness. One man, in a position of power, chose to see him as more than just a broom in motion. That simple act of respect had unlocked courage, opportunity, and hope. Years later. Time passed. Marcus kept working, learning, and saving. He eventually enrolled in evening college classes, juggling work and study with the same determination that had guided him since he was a teenager. It wasn't easy, but each late night of reading, each exam, each project was a step toward the life he envisioned. Harrison retired a few years later, but before leaving, he called Marcus to his office. "I'm proud of you," Harrison said, his voice steady but warm. "You've taken every chance and turned it into something better. That's not easy. You've got the right spirit to go far." "Thank you, sir," Marcus replied sincerely. "I wouldn't be here without your encouragement. You saw me when most people didn't." Harrison gave a small smile. "Marcus, the truth is, the way we treat others says more about us than about them. You always carried yourself with dignity, even in the hardest job. That deserved respect. Don't forget that when it's your turn to help someone else." Marcus never did forget. Years later, when he himself became a manager in a growing tech company, he carried Harrison's lesson with him. He treated every person, from executives to custodians, with the same respect, remembering that everyone had a story, a struggle, and a dream. The lasting lesson. The story of Marcus and Harrison is not about charity or pity. It's about kindness rooted in respect. Harrison didn't hand Marcus success. He simply noticed him, encouraged him, and opened a door. Marcus walked through it with his own determination. But without that initial spark, without someone saying, "You're doing a fine job," the path might have remained hidden. Kindness doesn't always mean grand gestures. Sometimes it means slowing down long enough to acknowledge another person's worth. A smile, a question, a word of encouragement, these are seeds that can grow into life-changing trees. And for Marcus, the seed planted in a polished lobby grew into a future. he once only dreamed of.